Hello and welcome to Geek and Biscuits with your hosts Dan and Grant.
Hello again, Dan.
Hello, mate. How are we doing?
Second time.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. All good. Yeah, good. How's your day been?
Yeah, it's been a good day. Pretty bad weather, so plenty of film watching.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cup of teas, biscuits, the good life.
Yeah, what biscuits? People have been asking. People are saying we haven't spoken enough about biscuits. What biscuits have you devoured today?
Can you ever speak enough about biscuits, though? Yeah. That's a no. But the biscuits I've been eating are custard creams. Not my favourite.
Yeah.
But my wife is pregnant at the minute, so all we have in the house is biscuits or are biscuits, and we go from Jaffa cakes to custard creams to custard creams to custard creams. So yeah, being brainwashed to like them.
It's an all-rounder. It's a
I
good dipper.
really like them. See, genuine.
Oh. There you go. That's for the people who've been asking about biscuits. Grant is forced to eat custard creams until they fall out of his arse.
Absolutely true.
Speaking of bad weather, today we're looking at Colour Out of Space.
Yes, we are. It's 2019, but released in 2020.
Yes, yeah, it did the awards circuit, the little sort of film festival circuits, I believe, before it was at a very, very limited release.
Yeah, very
which is a
disappointed
shame.
because I was really looking forward to obviously pre-lockdown before we locked down, had no cinema or even thought of anything like that. And I was kept an eye out for when it was coming out, and obviously it was like, no, got to go to the arse end of nowhere to find a cinema. So yeah, such a shame.
It is, because I think it is a film that really deserves to be seen on the big screen. It's quite a spectacle. I was saying it's a gorgeous watch as well. It's very, very beautiful.
It is. It's when I saw the trailer, because it's the same is it the same production team or producers from Mandy, the Cage film, and it's got a lot of the same colouring. Now, not specifically the film, but even from the trailer, where obviously the purples in the film or the magenta technically.
Yeah.
But and I think a lot of people kind of it maybe confused a bit or thought maybe it's in the same kind of series or universe of films, but it doesn't do it justice, really, does it, until you watch it? Like you said, it's just beautiful to look at on such a relatively small budget as well.
Yeah. I was really sort of surprised at which obviously we're not going to try not to go into any spoilers to begin with. We're going to throw up a spoiler warning a little bit later on, but getting into the aesthetics of it, I mean, it's gorgeous to look at. It's shot extremely well, but then that colouring, that colour grading, again, the magenta, like you just said, just it pops. It really stands out. It's such a, and the tone of that magenta is a really gorgeous colour.
Yeah, it's amazing the fact that you're wowed and horrified at the same time.
Yeah, it's insane.
Such a contrast, but so brilliantly done.
Yeah, I completely agree. But for those people who don't know, it's based on a H.P. Lovecraft short story.
Yeah.
Titled
"Colour Out of Space."
Yes.
Yeah,
that's right, mate. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. And it was written by Scarlett Amaris and the director Richard Stanley, who
interesting fellow, isn't he?
Yeah. It's a bit of a weird one because he hasn't sort of been around for a while.
20 years, maybe.
20, yeah. Island of Dr. Moreau.
Yeah.
Which for those who might have seen it, Richard Stanley didn't direct after day 3, I think, day 2 or 3.
Yeah, fell out with the studio and Val Kilmer, I believe.
Yes,
or rumours certainly.
Yeah, so a big mess of a film in itself, which is a shame because of the talent that was behind it, and the talent up on screen as well. It could have been a really decent adaptation.
Yeah.
But
did you hear? Sorry to interrupt you, Dan. But did you hear the story of Richard Stanley? He didn't actually go back home when he was fired. Some of the Australian production team actually, he kept meeting up with them, and they put him in full makeup and prosthetics, and he kept coming onto the set like
really
intoxicated and watching what was going on.
That's amazing. Oh, that's brilliant. It's a shame because I know it's one of those things he'd been wanting to adapt for years, and they sort of, I think, I might be wrong, but I think they were going to. He'd done a lot of production work, and then they were going to hire someone else to do it, and he got really upset. And luckily, he got Brando on board. And it was Marlon Brando who said, "If I'm going to do this film, then Richard Stanley's directing it." But then when the studio kept interfering because Val Kilmer came on board, doing a bit of his prima donna shenanigans, which apparently is down to he just found out over facts that his wife was divorcing him, so he claims that he was upset about that. Who knows? But
one of those things,
yeah. But apparently, when Richard Stanley needed Marlon Brando the most, Brando was nowhere to be seen.
It's such a shame from watching this film and seeing like his own style that maybe that film would have worked if he'd have remained on board. Yeah. So it is such a, like you said, such a shame. Maybe it is a unique set of circumstances. Somebody like Val Kilmer, that he had done Batman by that point, hadn't he? I think
so. Yeah, was he? Something like that.
But I wonder if it was his next film then, because I'm sure it was like 95, 96, Batman Forever, I think. So maybe if there was a little bit of ego around, then
maybe
you don't get much bigger than Batman, do you?
No, that's it. It's a strange time to be in. But Kilmer's always, I know we're sort of going off on a little tangent, but I love him in Willow.
Oh yeah,
he's brilliant in Willow. He's a great actor. I mean, Tombstone,
brilliant,
absolutely fantastic in Tombstone.
Yeah.
But it's a shame, really. I think a lot of stars, whether it comes down to he's just upset over sort of the end of his marriage, or whether he was being, well, I'm Val Kilmer and you're not, so attitude. I don't know, but I'm glad if that's the way it went down, and it meant Richard Stanley didn't work properly until now, and it was to make this film. Then I'm really glad we've waited. Yeah,
it almost feels like he has a point to prove as well.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this film, and what's nice to know is that if this is a success, which I think they'll have to rate on video on demand services now and video sales, is that it's supposed to be the first part in a trilogy of adaptations.
Yes,
next one being a Dunwich Horror, and if he's going to be the go-to guy for Lovecraft, then all power to him.
Yeah, that's the most exciting thing, that we're only a third of the way through, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, the guy knows it inside out. He's been on record as saying that it was the thing that his mum used to read to him when he was little. She used to read him Lovecraft.
Now having a good night's sleep, son.
Don't look under your bed. Cthulhu might be there.
Count the tentacles to go to sleep.
But what an awesome way to keep that carried on. And I do believe that when his mum was poorly with cancer, that he was reading the books back to her as well. So it's sort of
bit of symmetry going off there.
Yeah. So it's definitely really important to him, and I think when you've got someone that passionate about something, it really shines through. Which again, this did. It a great team behind it. I mean, we've got the other films Richard Stanley's done. I think it was Hardware.
It's a cult classic.
Dust Devil. Film called Brave, which is based on music by Marillion. They've just looking at my little notes here. Music, which I thought was really good as well. The soundtrack I thought was really good. It was done by Colin Stetson, who did Hereditary.
I was just going to say, I'm sure that he did Hereditary. And what's good about it is I'm not quite sure if you've seen Hereditary yet, because I know that you have a million different films to watch, like me. But usually, or should I say, I'll stick by usually. Sometimes you may get like a composer or someone will do a piece of music, and then you'll be able to maybe recognize them in another film, or if it's of a similar genre. And this time I felt, until actually like I looked up who did the music, I was like, well, I can't believe that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like really positive, proper is like a chameleon. Like he looked at the film, saw what it was about, and was able to just go into it rather than picking and choosing little bits, or maybe reworking themes that he may have like composed before. So I was really pleased by that.
Yeah, because he did Red Dead Redemption 2 as well.
Yes, I've heard that. I did some work. Again, another incredible.
The same with the director of photography. It was Steve Annis. He'd only been up to that point, as far as I'm aware, only been known for music videos. We had Sheeran and Pink, notably, but
Florence and the Machine, I think he's done some stuff for as well.
But apparently the producers did everything they could to stop, in a positive way, Richard Stanley working with anyone he worked with before, because they didn't want any kind of that bad experience to taint. Especially the last big studio film, and you do tend to bring people along with you, even after large amounts of periods of time. You do set a lot of directors work with the same DOP and all the same editors or whatever. So to have that bit of faith and say, you can do whatever you want with this, but you need to do it fresh, completely. But I think that had a lot to do with Elijah Wood.
Really?
And I do believe that the casting, I don't know whether it was for this or Mandy, it was a choice. I don't think Nicolas Cage was first choice, and that was down to Elijah Wood as well.
Oh wow!
Yeah, because it was producer, which is great to see. Elijah Wood, who's made his money off. He did his Family Fare when he was younger, and the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which is still I think the highest grossing independent film series. Still shot like indie films and that. They were doing stuff on the fly, and he sort of stayed in that indie circuit, little small films. He's not sort of, it's like Lord of the Rings came along and he didn't sort of go, I'm going to be in everything now. It's nice that he sort of stepped behind. And thought, well, no, I'll give other people a chance, and
just seemed like a really cool guy, doesn't he, as well?
Yeah.
Somebody you bump into and could have a nice little chat. Like for instance, if we bumped into him and said, "Oh yeah, we did this podcast. Have you got a couple of minutes for us?" You'd imagine him to be one of the guys that no ego, just like, here you go, guys. What do you want to ask me? Blah blah blah. Yeah, like remembers where he came from, things like that.
Oh, definitely, yeah. So that's great. It's
do you think that makes? Sorry, don't you think that makes it more sad though? Like we're talking about with Richard Stanley, like that was to be his big breakthrough mainstream wise, The Island of Dr. Moreau. So we're talking about that. Obviously, he's not brought anyone along to obviously taint maybe what's happened before. But the fact that, like, we talk about some of the films being cult classics and based on little stories and things, but yet that was to be, for all we know, that could have been his big break, a unique vision, and he could have been the next big star. And such a shame, really.
Yeah, it is. But again, it's turned out well for fans of Lovecraft, I would say.
Absolutely.
Notoriously hard to adapt a lot of his stories. So I'm excited if whatever they announce, if they do get to do Dunwich Horror, and then whatever they announce for the third one, I'll be just as excitable. I know it was a few years ago. Del Toro wanted to do At the Mountains of Madness with Universal, but to do it properly, his budget was upwards of 200 million, and Universal were just not that way inclined to pump a load of money in a film that
he should have pretended it was the next Fast and Furious film. He would have got green light straight away.
Well, that's it, and it's like, I think even though H.P. Lovecraft's work's been around for an extremely long time, it seems like certain companies won't take a gamble on it.
No.
So cosmic horror doesn't seem to be. I don't know whether they think it's just not going to make the numbers up or whatever. But when you've got someone like Del Toro, whose design work in itself just forgetting about his filmmaking at the minute, but his design work itself is just it's off the scale. He always carries a little book around with him that he sketches in and designs all his own creatures and stuff. And look at Pan's Labyrinth, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
Gorgeous to look at. So I kind of wish that they would, sort of like take note and think, people are really enjoying Colour Out of Space. It's getting some really good reviews, and so maybe the world is ready for a large budget Lovecraftian fueled nightmare.
That would be the dream.
Yeah, because I mean, for now, what we've had really is as close to is In the Mouth of Madness.
Yeah.
Which
in 1995.
Yeah. I mean, I love it though. I think it's it's a proper cult classic, and it really does. It is John Carpenter's love letter to Lovecraft.
Yeah, absolutely.
More of that, please. But should we talk a bit about the cast?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we've got the amazing and always entertaining Nic Cage.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Nathan Gardner, artist turned farmhand, alpaca farmer.
Yeah. He likes his plums and tomatoes.
He does. He certainly does. And then obviously we'll get into sort of like the plot in a bit. But Jolie Richardson is his wife Teresa, who's equally as good. I've not seen her in anything for a little while.
No, it has been a while. But yeah, she's quite understated. Very good though. Nice. A bit of a little tragic story. For what she's going through, but she plays it really, really well.
Does, yeah.
Because I don't think it's not spoilers to say that she plays kind of like a remote businesswoman. Is it something like an estate agent that she's obviously struggling with that and with some health issues, and because the remote, she keeps losing connection, phone lines, internet connection. So there's a lot of stress going off, and I think she plays that really, really well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and you've got Madeline Arthur, Lavinia.
That name's a shout out to the Dunwich Horror, isn't it? As well, that name. Yeah. So
she's phenomenal in it. I've not seen her in anything else. She carries that film really well.
Because at first, from the first scene, which obviously we won't go into just yet, but I think she's the first gardener introduced to, I believe.
Yeah.
And to begin with, you're not quite sure. I wasn't quite sure how to take her. I was like, this is a little bit tongue-in-cheek. I do get it. But I was a little bit at first, I was like, because obviously you're establishing the mood and the characters. So it's the first kind of impression you get of anybody there, any character. And I was a little bit, I'm not really sure. And again, as soon as she gets back to the family home on the farm, she is, along with Cage, probably the most important performer in the film, definitely.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And you got Julian Hillard as Jack.
That's the young boy, is it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
In
Haunting of Hill House.
Yes. Yeah. And he was great in that. And again, it does a fine job.
Yeah.
In this.
Again, a role that as a child he's the first one that's manipulated by what's going off and wowed by it. Could be a bit of a thankless role, but he's got that like wide-eyed wonder and amazement that he sells really well. So I thought he did really well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you've got I think it's Brendan Mayer as Benny, the eldest son.
Yeah, he's the quiet, leave me alone type.
Yeah, he's almost sort of like the go-to guy for levity. Yeah, for natural levity, I would say, because there are scenes later on with Nic Cage where he does his thing. He does do his thing. And it's obviously we'll talk about it later, but it's just enjoyable to watch, and it's because of the scenario that he's in. Even though if you're in the same boat, you can quite understand where he's coming from. You can't help, because it's Nic Cage. You just can't help but smile and giggle along. And then you've got Elliot Knight as Ward.
Is he the surveyor?
He is. Yes, he is. And I only found this out after just wasn't on my brain. It just wasn't on my mind. But he's called Ward Phillips, and the HP in HP Lovecraft is Howard Phillips.
I like that.
Yeah, that's a nice
Lovely.
little detail.
Yeah.
Throughout throughout the film as well, he's wearing a Miskatonic University T-shirt, which was great. Not a lovely little touch as well. Because they do mention Arkham in Boston, and I think on the weather report as well, you see Dunwich, and that sort of thing.
It's
So
the start of the building of the universe, hopefully.
Yeah, without rubbing it in your face.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, yeah, and then obviously, I think other than sort of the sort of smaller cast, Tommy Chong,
Yeah.
as Ezra.
Yeah.
Such a good little part.
It is a great little part. It could have easily been obnoxious and annoying, but it isn't.
Yes, it wasn't.
No.
It wasn't at all. But so a brilliant crew, brilliant cast. Looks great. It doesn't outstay its welcome. That film's written really well, and it has that sort of. I wouldn't say it's a slow build, but it doesn't rush to get to the main event either, does it? It's sort of, and even when the main event sort of happens, it still paces along. It's not like shit, everything goes to shit all at once.
No, and I think you need to care in a horror film about what happens to people. And something as bizarre as cosmic horror, if you're just going to start with something happens in 20 minutes and expect the audience to buy into it, believe it, or care about the characters, then you're going to fail. So I think, like you said, it's not particularly a slow build, because I think there's that underlying kind of underlying issues with the family. Where obviously you've got health issues, you've got like money concerns, stuff like the daughter and they're both teenagers from what I can gather anyway. So the relationship and things that are going off at the family is kind of like it's there but not there. It's like developing in the background. So there is that bit of tension there. It's not just all like a happy family and we're sat there thinking, come on, something happened. It's like you get that dinner scene at the beginning where Cage is not seeing eye to eye with I think it's the daughter, and then they're talking about how shit his cooking is and stuff like that. So it's interesting to watch. Everything's developing. There's not any wasted screen time. That's what I like about it.
Yeah, definitely. It brings everyone together in a really natural way. You're not forced into getting to know someone. You're not sort of like badging into, oh, this is that character and we're establishing this person as because we'll need that later in the film. And it's like, and no one's sort of stereotypical as well. They've all, like I said, they've all got the little story beats. And even when we're presented with Lavinia in her opening, I think that could have gone so many ways of cheese. I wouldn't say it's a spoiler to say at the beginning she's chanting.
She's a Wicca, isn't she?
Yeah, she is.
Practicing Wicca of earth and healing and things like that. Yeah.
So I wouldn't say, but it could have gone so Mother Earthy, OTT sort of, hammering home. It's the fact that when we first meet her, she's still got that cutting sort of attitude to her, as well. But while we're on that, since we're starting to get into the plot and sort of thing, I think it's fair to say that we can't really talk about this film without spoilers.
Yeah, we need to get into it, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, and it's and this is, I think, from other podcasts, this will be different because the previous stuff, Ghostbusters, and
The Thing.
Excuse me, thank you. Clear my throat. And The Thing. It's we sort of run on the assumption they're films we've already seen and we've seen from childhood and we absolutely adore them. So we can just talk about them off the cuff. We could start anywhere talking about those films and be happy in what we're talking about. Whereas this, I think, because it's very new to us as well, we sort of have to go through that sort of process of talking about plot points and stuff to sort of hit it home a bit about just how good it is. And same way, if we weren't to like it, I'd say the same. If we weren't to like it, then we could just we could quite happily talk about the plot and say why. But so we're following. we'll sort of open up with Lavinia. Like we just said, she's practicing Wicca.
Yeah, she's doing an incantation that she believes will help to heal a mum, which is Kelly Richardson, of cancer, I believe, because she's had a mastectomy already, hasn't she?
Yeah, she has, and which is sort of straight on, gives you that sense that she's different. She's different in that's how she sets herself aside from the family.
Yeah.
But she's all about that incantation. It's all about a mother. It's all about protecting a mother.
Yeah.
And all about a love for a mother, which is just it's a nice little opening sequence where then she bumps into Ward, who's lost, and she sort of chastises him for being on private land.
Which is quite a nice contrast because, like you said, it could have gone either way. Where you're thinking straight away, characters like the Mother Earth kind of respecting nature kind of character can really be quite poorly written or one-dimensional. But I do like this again in tune with nature and everything. And this guy walks up and she gives him a telling off, kind of like so it's kind of real. It's the projection of what you want to be based with actually I'm a teenager and I'm pissed off at a lot of things in my family. So it's a very real performance. I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. And then it's obviously she gets back home and we're introduced to the rest of the family and Jolie Richardson, she's doing her work from the loft. It's worried about losing clients. We get told Nic Cage was an artist who I think I'd assume, I don't know if I missed this, but I'd assume that they took over his dad's farm. Was it for a slower pace of life? Was it just?
That's what I gather, for a slower pace of life, and because of his family's health problems and stuff, it is to take a back seat and be more of a family, I think. Which is again mentioned, I think, in the cooking scene with it's his turn to cook today, and he cooks like shit, but it's something he wants to do for his family, and
and raise alpacas.
Well, I don't think I can add anything to that. I mean, I think people have seen the episode title for this little podcast. And what more can you say apart from a nice little scene later? Probably several,
yeah. Well, because we get the setup, so we meet like Benny, and he's this sort of atypical sort of stoner son, but it's not like off his tits all the time. It's just sort of a little bit here and there, and
very real. Again, not someone who's completely, like you said, stoned off his face every scene or anything like that. It's like what you'd expect. Every I think do we only see him I think twice. I think that we see him when he's intoxicated or anything like that because again, I suppose going back to it could be such a one-dimensional character. It could have been, but he really shines in at the beginning of the third act. The character does, where you start to question. I started to question, think, is this film suddenly going to focus on him now? Is he going to become the primary focus? So, again, like with the daughter, it's we watch first introduce these characters and thinking, okay, is it just like a colour by number character, kind of all these like, do you know what I mean? Generic kind of one note dimensional kind of characteristics. And no, it kind of as soon as you introduce them, it's like it slaps you in the face and says, this guy's a stoner, but he is a person as well. And you'll see that, which I like about it.
Subverted those expectations of a stereotype.
Subvert in the right way.
Yes.
In the correct manner.
The correct manner, yeah.
Well, it does seem to be over the last couple of years, a lot of people seem to, or directors and filmmakers seem to think that is a little bit like Shyamalan having a twist in every film. That is the way to go. But actually, it's not always, is it? It's when done correctly.
Yes.
And I think this film treads that line really nicely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's sort of you get all those nice little scenes. You get introduced to, even like you get introduced to the horse, the dog and the cat, and obviously sort of little Jack, and it's a strong family unit, but again, it's a very, I think, a typical family unit where the kids don't quite respect the parents. They're struggling with what's gone off with the mum as much as what dad is. Dad wants them to get kind of back to normal. He's, it's sort of, as we head towards like the main event as such. He's trying to convince, mum that she's still beautiful. He still wants her. They've not been together for a while, and it's that sort of, and quite rightly, she's concerned about that because she's had a mastectomy. She's worried that he won't find her attractive, he won't love her the same way he did.
Real family and real problems, and
yes.
Not just real family and real problems, but also problems that maybe that are really difficult for families to overcome, or maybe not really difficult, but for somebody personally to overcome. Those things that maybe films don't really touch upon. Like, we can all go, oh, here's a film, it's a story about somebody who's maybe family members passed away, or there's been like kind of a sexual assault, oh my god, or the death of a child. We see those kind of things, but that's kind of like to get you to not really think about what's happened, just to give you motivation for a character to do something, or a revenge kind of scenario. But this is kind of like not mundane, but it's kind of, again, going to what I've said before, it's real. And it's in your face, and it's there, and we're witness to that conversation. And again, it's not like it's really awkward or anything, but you sit there and you're thinking, it's not really pulling any punches. I feel like I am a fly on the wall in this house.
And then the meteor crashes. In such a fucking spectacular way. You get that whole sort of descent of colour. And it stops literally everything. It's you've got Jack, who's out on. Is he out on the landing?
Yeah, he's on the landing, because I think he's the one that's most aware of something's happening, isn't he? Because the dog starts to growl and get really irritated.
Lavinia's asleep. But she's having a restless sleep. Benny's sat at his computer on I think it's like a free roaming solar system sort of
feed, isn't it, or something like that?
And he's just sat there drooling.
He's
completely gone, hasn't he?
And I think that's nice, because it's a little bit ambiguous. Like, is he stoned? Is he on drugs? Is he like out of it, or is this what's just happening now? So I do like that.
And then obviously it's not until obviously the animals are upset and everything, and the alpacas don't seem too keen about it either. And then there's it's Jack screaming that sort of sets everything off. It's not the sort of whole boom crash of a meteor landing. It's almost like a slow descent as well, isn't it? It's not sort of like straight down bang. It's there. It's almost like it's taking its time.
And it's because that's why it's a shock when you see that it has like made a bit of a crater in the garden, like you said, because that's not what it appears like. It appears almost magical, like it's dropped in from another film, kind of.
And again, it's sort of you sort of thinking, well, what's all this about now? What's going to happen? Is something going to come out of it? So that sort of, you start looking at your familiar tropes of, I always thought when I saw the meteor glowing that colour, and I was thinking, reminded me of the Blob.
The Blob, yeah, absolutely.
And it's just, and the first thing they notice is the smell.
Nicolas Cage continuously getting pissed off by something sour.
And I don't think it's not all of them who can smell it either, is it?
No.
Anyway, and then obviously the ward becomes involved. They call the police and the mayor. They want a big show of it. And then it gets struck by lightning. And disappears. And it's kind of like, yeah, like I said, there's that scene sort of immediately after where the reporters have been, and Nic Cage is watching himself back on the TV, and they're making him out to be drunk, a bit of a drunk idiot, who thinks he might have seen UFO. And he played it so well, didn't he? Because obviously, Julia Richardson, she's in the kitchen, isn't she, making dinner?
Making dinner. Yeah.
And he's like, go and watch this. Go and watch this. Look what they've done to me. They're making me out to be a right idiot. And then something happens with her. She's like,
well, I'm hoping that's they've altered the footage for the film and they just show Nicolas Cage some of his cage rages, and he's like, "What's going on?" That's actually his method.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Whoa. Just letting go for it. But then because of this now almost presence this of something going on, she takes two of her fingers off.
And that's kind of the build-up. You see that she's chopping. You see, usually in situations like that or scenes like that, you get the chop, 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 and the cuts get faster, and then something will startle the audience, and nothing will happen. It'll be like a close call.
Yeah.
But this time it like happens, and then there's like an eerie silence for a second, and then a character turns around and goes, "Oops!" Kind of, look what I've done, and there's two fingers missing, and it's not, the film's not relying on jump cuts to scare you or loud noises or gore. It's just the shock of it and seeing what's happened to this person that is going through this horrible time, and you're thinking to yourself, "Oh my God, you poor woman."
Yeah.
It's not kind of loud noises, be scared, there's no musical cues there.
Yeah, I think that's it, because it's the contrast to the wonder that comes before, which is sort of missed a little bit. But I think is it just after the meteor's gone, when the flowers start springing up, and these little magenta flowers sort of appear everywhere, and there's almost sort of like a beauty, even though Nicolas Cage can still get that smell in his nose. There's a beauty to what's happening. There's a shimmer to the.
You see like a little bit larger than a regular one, but like a grasshopper that's like magenta-y pink and purple, and I mean that's CGI, I believe, but what they did such a cracking little job on the budget they did, but everything's so innocent at first, and like you said, so beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's new life, isn't it? It's sort of stuff we've never seen before, and it's just sort of springing up all over, and it is. Sorry, I'll just come back to it. It's beautiful. It's done in such a nice way, and it's such a nice, gentle thing that it's almost like you start thinking, well, whatever's happening, it's harmless. It's not here. It doesn't seem to have any intention other than to plant itself within the earth.
Yeah.
But so you do get the bits where you get Jack hearing what he says. There's a man in the well.
Very childlike, thinks whatever it is a friend and talking to him and stuff.
And then there's obviously with Ward getting involved. You test the water because there's an oily residue in the water, and then when obviously the Julia Richardson cuts her fingers off, the hospital, I think it's like an hour, 2 hours away.
Yeah, because they're very remote, aren't they? Very remote, which is.
So they have to leave the kids on their own, and this is sort of where it comes in that that there's an all seriousness to it, but like the last instruction Nic Cage puts out there is you've got to make sure that the alpacas are put back in the barn.
Yeah.
And obviously the kids have their own experiences. They have some scary experiences, some worrying stuff.
Because there's a time kind of lapse, isn't there, where people go into trance-like states for a while.
That's it. It doesn't just mess with the environment. It does mess with time. It's sort of like you get those flips where Lavinia goes to wash the knife that cut her mother's fingers off.
Yeah.
And she loses. Is it 4 hours?
4 hours, yeah.
Yeah, she completely loses 4 hours. She starts feeling unwell. And it does seriously affect them all in very, very different ways. And but by the time they try ringing mum and dad because they're scared naturally, and they believe that they're talking to him, but it's that garbled on the phone. It could be anyone, and
Yeah.
Same for them when Nic Cage rings home to check on everything. It's all garbled and nasty, and they believe that they've spoken to each other on the way home.
Yeah.
Which they haven't. It's
No.
so something. It's not just interfering with the earth, the water. It's interfering with the airwaves, radio transmission.
All communication is literally dead, isn't it? At that point.
Yeah, and that sort of, and you start to see that change in Nic Cage when he gets back from the hospital.
Yeah, and
the alpacas are out, even though the kids had actually put them away.
Yeah.
And he starts to lose it a little bit. It gets narky, doesn't it? Really quick. It gets narky at absolutely anything. And whereas up to that point, he's been quite affable. He's been quite a nice. He's been
you can relate to him. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, easy. And then he sort of does. I know we've spoken about this before, but when he's pissed off with the kids, and he goes from being quite, kids, like he does, to being like, you get the fuck in my face. It's like, you know what? Save it, I'll go do it myself. And he almost sort of reverts back to where he talks to the kids like a kid.
Yeah, very high school kind of like,
yes.
The kind of clueless kind of bitchy reactions to each other. Yeah.
And then he sort of goes off and has his shower, and finds some weird jellyfish.
Yeah, clear, isn't it? It's no kind of form or colour to it.
A couple of little tentacles.
Yeah,
coming off it, which sort of like move up his arms, and he starts getting incredibly dry skin.
Yeah, and I've heard of so many people, including myself, complain during this lockdown that the amount of times people have washed their hands, they're left with dry skin. And then at the point of watching this film, I wouldn't be complaining about washing your hands when you see how dry his skin is at that point. It is like a really cracked, like it's almost like stone, isn't it? It looks like.
Yeah. So while this is going on, Ward obviously has done his little visits and everything, and Benny takes him to meet Ezra, Tommy Chong, who lives on the gardener's land in a little shack. And they said he used to be electrical engineer.
That's right. Yeah.
So he's got his little shack all hooked up. It's all done by solar panel, and he's very much seems like the age-old hippie who's in touch with. He's quite zen. He's in touch with the earth and everything.
And he's the supplier to the Benny.
Yes,
that's right. Yeah. And he goes obviously. So the son has a relationship with him, doesn't he? As well.
It's very very good relationship, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's great with Ward coming in, and and that's where Ward sort of discovers that the water's off.
Yeah.
Because he offers him a coffee, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And so and later on another visit from Ward, Ezra's been recording noises from under the ground, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And it's very eerie, sort of. He says that he can hear people talking, but it's not. It's sort of rumblings, isn't it? It's like distorted sort of rumbling. So obviously, he's.
But again, it's affecting each character different.
Yes,
which we went to earlier.
He may have heard voices himself, but it's not something. Yeah.
And that keeps everything very interesting, doesn't it? Because it keeps you guessing what's actually happening as well as the audience.
I've had no idea at all. And I think it really sort of kicks off, and it goes into sort of almost like like beast mode, where whatever's in the well, whatever's the sum of the parts of this meteorite, whatever's infected the land, starts to become aggressive.
Yeah.
And we move away from the family losing the shit to them actually being in physical danger. And you get obviously you get the scene with the alpacas,
where they're attacked by the colour.
Yes, right? They're attacked by the colour, and it just. I don't know. It's quite hard to describe.
It reminds me of The Thing, You know, with the dog scene, and it's almost like it like merges all of their DNA into one like kind of big alpaca mess.
Yeah, it's sort of like a hydra,
and gives them an haircut.
Yeah. And again, that's Nic Cage sort of deals with that by blowing all the faces off with his shotgun. And they don't pull away from it, do they? They don't shy away from it.
No,
It's
not
just,
at all.
yeah, it's some very, very well done animatronic alpacas. And here's Nic Cage with his shotgun. Yeah. Friday night entertainment, isn't it? But what I think the thing that really unsettled me the most was the merging of Jack and Teresa.
Yeah, because it's Benny at first that's with because he discovers the alpacas, don't he, before Cage wipes them out with headshots. And so they come back from the hospital. She sees young Jack coming out of the barn and the colour like coming towards him. So she bends down and as she's like grabbing her arms around him to protect him, it like merges those two together. And we don't see that for a while, do we? As well, we're left for maybe 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, we don't know what's happened, do we? And all I can sort of describe it is, it's like the backs have been fused, isn't it? But it's to a degree where I think they describe it as that mum's absorbing
son.
And I get like a Fly vibe, you know, the sort of I think probably the Fly too, you know, when the dog, you know, he feels sorry for the dog and everything and that but it was when they brought him on the couch and there's not a lot of stuff I've seen, you know, it unsettles me or disturb, you know, I'm not overly
no, we are quite both of us quite desensitized. We've watched that many horror films and
that's
and
it, things. But that upset me that when you can hear Jack saying daddy and mummy when he's almost pleading, but there's nothing he can do about it. And all she can do, all Teresa can do is lay there and let it happen. They've got no control over what's happened to them, no control over what's going to happen to them. They're just
and she can't really speak, can she? As well, she's always like desperate for water, and it's so it's like it's just a mess of suffering.
Yeah. So the only thing to do, the only thing Dad, you know, Nic Cage knows what to do, is to it's like he can't cope, so he gets them to move her in the attic.
Yeah.
His solution is to put them out of the way.
Yeah.
And then that's when I think is that when he goes to deal with the alpacas.
Yeah, that's when he takes the shot.
He turns around and says, he turns around to Lavinia, doesn't he? He says, "Feed your mother."
Feed your mother, and
and then he sort of.
Have you noticed that what I really liked about that scene is that she obviously loves her mum and a brother, a baby brother, but like it's almost like Cage has this kind of like, I need to be acting like the man of the house, and this is happening. I need to carry on and not slow down. So as horrifying as it is, he's not really like watching it like that or seeing what's happening. He's almost treating it like they're both broken the legs, where he's like, "Now feed your mother." She doesn't even want to be in the same room as them, can she? She's planning to run away, isn't she?
Yeah, she's absolutely horrified with what's going on. And I think the kids do play that, especially Lavinia, who's done nothing but want the best for her mum and for mum to be all right. She plays it like she can't quantify what's happened.
No.
And what's happening. It's beyond her reasoning, and she's terrified. And like you said, her only solution is to run away. Whereas Nic Cage is just, you know, I'm going to deal with this, and then seemingly wants to deal with an issue with mum the same way, but can't bring himself to do it.
No.
And then, you know, he does deal with it. You know, that's the thing. He sort of plays around and
because he puts Lavinia in the attic, he says, "Now feed your mother," which is quite a, stands out because it's quite a play on words. Because if I'm right, is this the part where then the mum actually turns on Lavinia? So you're getting the fact that like feed your mother is now a play on actually feed your mother. She's helpless too. You're going to be food for your mother. So again, very well written dialogue again, and unintentionally hilarious from Cage.
Yeah, as most things are.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so it comes down, they're sort of thinking about running away. Ward comes back after visiting Ezra with the sheriff.
Yes. Did you realise the sheriff's one of the guys who was behind the scenes?
No, I didn't.
I don't know whether he's the creature designer. Yeah, and they give him. Yeah. So again, it's a nice little tight unit that everybody kind of plays into it, and
Death by tree.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Because they find Ezra, don't they? And Ezra's sort of, I would say, he's sort of fungied up.
Yeah, because he says because it's almost like he's a little bit of a mouthpiece, isn't he? When he's like, "It's the color, it's so bright, it's the color, it's like the color burns," almost kind of that kind of speech, and he gives. Which again, it's like it's not really explaining what's going off, but it's just that level of threat keeps increasing. So where afterwards the tree gets the sheriff. So it really does play its hand really well at like, even though we've just seen, which obviously we'll touch on in a minute with the mum's second kind of form almost, even though that has just happened, and I get that to me is the part of the film where where it kind of just kicks off, doesn't it? From then it's like it's got to a point which a lot of films either burn out too quickly or never really get going, and this film seemed to, with its pacing, like do everything at just the right time.
Yeah.
And this is a time when because at the end of the day, we are watching a cosmic horror film. Something has to happen at some point, and that is horrific. Like you said, it is disturbing to watch, and it's not very nice. But the film still doesn't, like, I don't know, pull up its skirt for lack of a better analogy and show everything. Still, there's parts to wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was going for slightly more Marilyn Monroe than kind of weirdo kind of one.
I think so. When he comes down to, obviously, like you said, the second form of the mum, and the resolution of, there's only one thing left for Cage to do about it.
Well, it follows on from when he locks her in the attic when he goes to deal with stuff, and she doesn't see her mum at first, and her mum comes out and she's almost like spider-esque.
Yes,
and then is that right where Ward comes through the door?
Yeah,
and he tries to save because obviously they're like as shocked as what Lavinia is, and that's when Cage comes through, and does he shoot?
Yeah, and it's completely like out of nowhere, isn't it?
It's completely deadpan, isn't it, as well? And he shoots them, and then I just remember. So tell me if I'm right, but I just remember Cage shoots them, like gives like kind of a Cage off, smiling, goes, "That's not my family." Smiles to himself, because then he's just condoned whatever he's done, and then just walks off.
Yeah,
and because all the rest of the characters are like jaws wide open, like Lavinia's got to process. Although that's a mom that's just attacked her, or kind of a mom. He's just gone and shot a mom, and there's no remorse, no crying, no tears. He's just gone in and just exterminated her.
But the next time we see him, and I think it's the next time, he's sat on the settee saying, "My family's here." He can he can see and hear all his family.
Yeah, because he's watching the TV, isn't he? Yeah, with a gin or something, or and
he sees them as they were. To him, so that kind of makes sense in that context. Like, he's gone upstairs, done what he's done, because to him, he's distanced himself. Whatever's going on in his head, it's sort of completely partitioned his mind.
Yeah.
So, but it sort of escalates as it heads towards its finale. So mum, youngest brother have gone. Benny goes after the dog because he believes it's down the well.
Yeah.
And gets completely eaten up by whatever's down there.
Yeah, we
Again,
don't even see what happens, do we? We just see him overcome with the colour, don't we?
Yeah. And that's
because he and his sister are planning to leave, aren't they? When they think they can't get through to Dad, Mum's gone, brother's gone, and then that's where he believes the dog's in the well, and that's how he ends up. So we're just left with Lavinia and Nathan now, aren't we? I believe.
I think we're right in saying that the Cage comes out, and Ward, is it Ward who shoots him?
Yes, it is. Yeah,
because he takes aim, does he? But I think he's shooting at the colour. I don't think he says something like it's only colour. Like he takes aim, but I think Ward thinks he's going to shoot Lavinia.
Yeah.
So he shoots him, and she just everything's gone for her. Then she rushes back, she cradles her dad in her arms,
and she says she can't go.
She can't. Yeah, she can't go. That's it. And I think you get to a point where you think, can any of them leave?
Yeah.
Is Ward going to get out of this?
Yeah, because like you said before, it's cut. They're in their own little world. They're completely cut off from everything.
Yeah. It seems to have sort of almost domed around a radius. You've got that sort of mist or fog.
Yeah,
acting as a barrier that they drive through. That's what Ward and the sheriff drive through to get to the house and everything. But yeah, so she just says she can't sort of quantify what's happened. And on touching Ward, we get that image because it's almost like she's possessed by that point because she had done a big blood ritual earlier on, hadn't she?
Yeah,
she'd sort of carved herself up with runes and read out the Necronomicon, and so she steps sort of. I'd say she steps into the breach, but she doesn't because it sort of envelops her, doesn't it? In it, she touches Ward, and he can see. He sees another planet. With sort of tentacle, slightly worm-like creatures moving around and all massing into this sort of big natural structure, and it's all magenta, isn't it? It's all that sort of.
Yeah, it reminded me. I'm not sure if you've played the game, but you've probably heard of it. Dead Space.
I've heard it. I've never played
it. Which is I suppose it is a little bit of a nod to Lovecraft because it's kind of a structure called the marker that people find in space, and it kind of transforms everyone's DNA. So you get these horrific creatures like humanoid, but like arms everywhere and really bizarre. And so that did remind me of that. Not as I don't even think it's an homage because obviously it's what it's based on, the short story. But I think. To me, what was fascinating about that is before I watched the film, I was watching a YouTube video about I can't even think what it was now, a film a while ago I'd not watched for years and years. And sometimes when you forget about it, but you think I've not got access to the film or a copy like close to me or whatever. And I just wanted to watch it again, like a bit of a synopsis summary. And I must have fell asleep and I woke up and it was and that was the image that was on the screen. And I paused it, and I woke up, and it was like almost like because it's so bright and vibrant. So I paused the screen, and it said like a summary of Color Out of Space, and I was like, "No, I can't believe this!" Do you know what I mean? This is like surely a key shot because I've seen the trailer, and you know some kind of set piece that's going to be towards the end.
Yeah.
But after the first 10 minutes or so, the next day, it had me like really like an even more increased sense of hype that I wanted to sit and watch the film at that point. I was like, no, you need to leave it till night, Grant. You need to watch it tonight. Stop doing what you're doing. Just think about something else. But that image kind of stuck with me.
Yeah.
So, sorry to interrupt, but I just think it's such a striking image. It's just, and again, on not much. Some people might criticize the CGI, but you're telling me there's any other way to do that? Like we've sat and watched films even as big as the Avengers, where you can clearly see an army of aliens or soldiers, and you can clearly see whether they're good or bad, but you can tell straight away it's CG. With movement. So I think it's very dreamlike.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think it is a beautiful shot. It's a really nicely done sort of tracking shot. So up to that structure and everything. And then there's that culmination of almost like it reminded me of when the colour dissipates. Which I might be wrong, you'll have to remember, but I think it does come down to because of Lavinia's I don't want it to a better word, spell. Because of like the ruin on her forehead glowing and everything, so it seems to be because of her. And when it does dissipate, it reminds me of the flame coming out of the ark.
Yes.
It sort of shoots up into the sky, and it completely destroys the area around it. There's no trace left of the house, the farm. There's no trace that anything was there before.
But do you think, just as that's happening, because Ward survives, doesn't he, when everything's going off? Yeah. He's trying to get away from Cage at that point. He's got blisters on his face, but he's still very humanoid. But when he walks into the living room, all the family's there, sat there. So that's where it led me to believe that when Cage was saying the funny line to me of "that's not my family," it generally wasn't. It had already enveloped them into the colour.
There was time. Yeah, because at that point there were time jumps, weren't there? It was like you got to see sort of other elements of like previous sort of parts of the film and stuff like that. So yeah, it could very much be that it is. You could almost look at it as right from the start. If it hadn't been for Ward experiencing these things, it could have just easily been Nic Cage has got off at deep end very early on in the film, and this is all in his head.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can play it so many different ways. But the nice little touch was all the way through in the background, very much in a Mayor Vaughn from Jaws sort of way. The mayor she's a bit of a dick, and
because she wanted their land, is that right? Or
she wanted their land. Yeah, because they were building a dam, weren't they?
That's right. Yeah.
And that's when sort of Ward was the whole thing with Ward was he was saying that you can't build that there because the water's infected. And then right at the end you get sort of a little coda scene, don't you, where because he narrates the opening.
Well, that kind of goes back to the short story because I think it's somebody who narrates it in the short story that he's telling the story of this colour that he witnessed with this family. Yeah. So I think that although he is clearly like not a focus character, he is kind of bookends the film. If he's obviously there, but he does bookend the film. He survives the end. He's there at the beginning, so he is the witness to it. So it's probably a nice little throwback as well to that because how do you adapt such a short little film that's about a kind of a first person recollection of a bizarre event that somebody's told somebody. So I think that's probably the best way of doing that.
Yeah, it's a nice little dig into the ending. He's sort of on the dam, saying that he'll never drink the water from there again.
Yeah.
Just in case, and he does worry about what else is out there, which sort of going to Lovecraft mythology. And again, it comes down to like the old gods and most of these things that have been asleep for centuries, and that just one look at them will drive you insane. And it's that fear, and I think it plays that really well. I think even at his most, God bless him, even Nic Cage's most maniacal moments, the moment in the car where he's completely frustrated and angry because it won't turn over, he starts beating the shit out of the car and screaming and everything. It's relative to other Lovecraft stories. He's probably got it fairly light. He's not completely lost his mind, but he's succumbed to whatever this colour is. And again, it's still left ambiguous to what it is.
It really does get all the Lovecraft themes right, doesn't it? It does. He really, you could tell he's such a fan, and it just gets you excited, like we spoke at the beginning. About what maybe with an increased budget. Not that this film needed an increased budget, but just for ambition and term and scale of story, what Richard Stanley could take on, what he could tackle. And like you said, right at the end, I'm sure he's at the dam, and is there a little like a mosquito or something flying, and it's got that magenta tint to it. So, like you said, it's that ambiguous kind of fear of the unknown that is left, but it's not in your face like a jump scare at the end, or we pan down and everything's magenta. It's just that hint, and I think that's again, it shows so much restraint.
Yeah, it's enough, isn't it? It's enough.
Absolutely,
yeah. You don't need any more than that. But, so I would like to introduce something before we wrap up.
Yeah.
I would like to introduce our new little device that.
Oh yes.
It measures cage rage.
Yep.
Yep. And each time we talk about a Nic Cage film, whether it's something new or something we've seen before, we're going to scale his performance from nothing, which would be a Cameron Poe, to a 10, which would probably be Castor Troy. So where on the cage rage scale does Nicholas fall in this, would you say?
Well, I would put him most of the film around a 4. That's just on an average, but I think probably I'd move because of his moments. I probably would move him to maybe a 5 or 6, something like that. I feel. So again, he doesn't overtake the story, which I think is brilliant. That the story is the main, and like you said, the beauty, the wonder of everything. That is the focus of the film. But Cage lets himself off the hook exactly when he needs to. I think it's like a perfect performance from Cage.
Yeah, he's fantastic. And going back to what I said earlier, it's a strong team with a strong cast, a very strong script, and I can't have more praise for Richard Stanley and being able to get something that's very close to him, made in exactly the way he wanted to, which doesn't always happen very often in Hollywood these days.
No, especially for a director that's not directed for 20 odd 2 decades, 20 odd years.
Yeah, but making his budget sort of stretch and everything's up on there. I don't know. I can't praise it. I can't praise it enough.
No, did you know that Cage did it because of his grandfather being a big Lovecraft fan? So that's why. Yeah. Which again, it's just a nice little thing, and I suppose that all ties into Richard Stanley's love of it. He seemed to get people that gave a shit, basically. So
so I'm really glad. I can't recommend it enough. I think.
Yeah, I would give it 5 alpacas out of 5. Yes.
Yeah. It goes the full alpaca.
Yeah, it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. I get that.
Yeah.
But I think you have to go with no expectations. Like the film that I've seen people closely mention it to or liken it to is Annihilation. Is that the Alex Garland film?
Yeah.
Premiered on Netflix. Again, I really enjoyed. Well, I did. I really enjoyed the film. I did think that the last part of it floundered a little bit. Where I feel this was really strong in the final act of this film was really strong. But I feel this was just so. The scale was right. Everything was perfect about it. It was so tight knit. It was such a nice little claustrophobic film, but at the same time it looked beautiful. Everything was such a contrast to what was going off.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it was like full of mundane like life that happens and people get ill and have medical problems, but then you've got this thing from outer space comes, this beautiful color that takes over and stuff. So everything worked, like a contrast and comparing everything. It just worked really well. And I saw the trailer probably 9-10 months ago now. And I was believing it to be out and released a lot sooner than it was, so I kind of forgot about it. When I saw the trailer again, like January time and stuff, it's something that I've had on my watch list right at the top for a while. And then obviously when we both decided that we're going to talk about it and we were ready to watch it, I think it's one of those films that at first I was like, well, is this not is this it? But I was like, I was left wanting more. But I think when I think about it, and when I like let it settle with me, actually, I didn't. It was ambiguous enough for me. It wrapped everything up, and I think it's Lovecraft. You can't explain the unexplainable. That would miss the point of the story and the point of his work. So, for me, I can't recommend it highly enough.
Yeah.
One day we might have an episode where we actually don't like something, but
we'll see. I don't, we know what's coming in the next few weeks, so I don't think that's likely at the minute.
No, definitely not.
But yes, all I can say is that if you've got this far, even if you've gone through spoiler territory and you're still with us, even if you think, well, you know everything about it, I'd still go out and see it. But still, it's I would highly recommend it, and I don't think anyone should miss it.
No, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I can guarantee that it's not a waste of your time.
Yeah,
you won't sit there and be bored like even the mother and son when they're first enveloped that we spoke about.
Yeah,
it will get a reaction from you. The film, without wanting to deliberately get a reaction from you, the film will get you a reaction. It doesn't sit on the fence. You won't do either. It is definitely worth your time one way or another. And for me, it's perfect.
Yeah, and I think if all you get out of it is enjoying Nic Cage drink warm alpaca milk straight out of the teat,
yeah,
then God bless you.
Yeah, God bless you indeed.
All right, well, I think that's it from me and your good self today.
Yes, it is. Just to say that it's after speaking about it, it's really making me think about giving it another watch. It's just one of those films. It stays with you, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've been wanting to watch it again. So I think that's what we'll be doing maybe after this. But, well, thanks for tuning in. And again, you can find us all. Anchor's doing all the hard work for us. So on Spotify, we're now on Google Podcasts, which is we've moved on to there, which is really exciting. If you watch us on YouTube, thanks again.
We'd love a like. That'd definitely help us out. And keep watching our stuff, and we hope that we earn a subscription from you, which would be lovely.
Yeah, and like we said before, if you've got any suggestions, we've already had one of what you want us to review or talk about in the future, then just let us know. You can either do that on the comments on the YouTube channel or get in touch with us through Facebook or Twitter. Yeah,
and we're also on Instagram. Obviously, that's Twitter and Facebook. We'll try and keep up with some news that we think we're definitely interested in, what we think you guys will be interested in. But our Instagram, we will probably start to use that a bit more to show maybe either new equipment we get or any nice little memorabilia that falls into our possession or anything like that. So, or maybe behind the scenes photographs of our lovely mugs.
Lovely, brilliant, mate. Great stuff. It's been lovely talking to you.
Yep, you too, as always.
And we hope you guys will tune in again. And so it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me. Remember to milk the alpacas.
I will. I certainly will. I'm going to go and do it now.
Good man.
All right, mate. Yeah. Right. See you later, guys.
Yeah. Take it easy, guys.
Bye.